What's up, YouTube? Hey, everybody. So I just tried to drop a podcast linked to the YouTube video that did not work, so I apologize if you listen to SoundCloud. You're going to hear me going over the visuals, but there's no visuals attached to it because my recording software, once again, is glitching out and having an issue, so I'm re-recording the YouTube video. We're going to touch on Onyx's data real quick. My name's @RealNapeAsian. Please follow on Twitter @real_ape_nation and @Onyx Analytics. Your guys' feedback, first and foremost, is the most important thing. This data, I already processed this data, but what I don't have when I do this data and I publish this data is I don't have your guys' feedback, and I need your guys' feedback to only improve Onyx further. So without further ado, let's get straight into the data, okay, guys? So here we're going to start looking at Webull. We had this really nice wedge going on here, and we dropped out of it yesterday. We had a downturn. We trended down, and we're looking this bottom out right here. So on the option side of things, everything I talk about is visualized through the options chains. Whether you trade options or not, options have a big factor when it comes to volatility and volume spikes in the stock. So we're going to talk real quick. So on the 2nd of June, we had this huge gamma squeeze, just insane squeezage, and it was halted. I mean, we had our price volatility halt. So that kind of stopped momentum because the price rose really fast. So looking at 6.2 here, and then coming over to the next day, which is the 3rd of June, we have this little right here. We have this little bottom right here. So right now, we bottomed out yesterday, or we finished the day at 45.07. Honestly, guys, and I've already told you, I straight shoot you. I don't mess around. I don't tell you things to make you guys feel better. I'm going to give you the data straight as it shows. And we all know that AMC is not a fundamental stock. So we're gonna look to drop down to 37.66, and I'm gonna explain to you guys why. But off 37.66, we should see a good level of support here and a bounce back, and then we hope next week is pretty loaded up on options. So hopefully next week, which is the week of the 16th, we can make that big push back up into our nice little consolidation channel that we've had. But I do firmly believe what the data is saying, and Onyx does kind of confirm what is going on here. Is we're going to see a bearish drop, and it's going to continue to drop into Friday, and we should hopefully next week, the options data is looking very good, so we should be able to get a good push back up into that consolidation channel, like I said. So this is what Webull has to offer for us today. You can look at all these different time intervals. And another thing while I'm on Webull, actually, we'll come back to that. Instead of skipping around, we'll come back to that. So I pull all of my data straight from NASDAQ. So this is AMC, option chain, all moneyness, not just near the money. And Onyx extracts all this data. And all this data for the calls comes in, and then Onyx consolidates it and makes it into this cute little beautiful chart here, okay? Take a little chapter out of Bob Ross. We have happy little trees. We have a happy little chart right here. And then Onyx further consolidates it down into bite-sized chunks with the important information. We have our call table, our put table. We have our gamma triggers, our reverse gamma triggers, our bear versus bull, and then our ape meter, the banana meter. The banana meter yesterday was looking very, very fat. Today's banana meter is really down, guys. So don't lose confidence. The banana meter yesterday was at 5.64. So how the banana meter works is it's on a scale of 0 to 5. Anything over 5 indicates very apish momentum. Ask me how you can get over 5 when it's a scale of 0 to 5. There is a ape factor that Onyx does take into effect, and that is ultimately what gives us that little bite over 5. Between 5 and 6 is that ape level indicator. So really the banana meter is a 0 to 6, but it's actually set up for 0 to 5, and then the ape tendencies kick in. So between the ape meter, the banana meter, we're looking very bearish. The spreads, the tables between the calls and the puts is also looking very bearish for the day. This week was not particularly a good week for call options, so I'm not too concerned of the call options. So one thing I want to highlight here is average contract value fell significantly. We had so on this average contract, we want to look for less than a $1 loss where AMC is sitting. So we've seen almost a little over a $2 loss, and then we actually watched. So here, if you look at the average contract value in a put was 1677 yesterday. Today it's 1953. It's up, which means that the bear side of the options world is winning. They've gained traction. They've gained momentum. So we look at here when it comes to these triggers, these gamma triggers. What this means simply is if I go down here to we're trading at 4507. From 45 to 49, we have decent levels of support. Okay. Now at 45, there is a ginormous bear wall right here of a million shares. This is 1.5 million shares. You have roughly 300,000 shares right here on the call side, and so this is really going to be not a battle of the options push or the Greeks push, but this is more or less, this is going to be a battle of buying. If we can get a big whale to step in and gobble up some shares, we're going to blow right through this wall. And then as you guys can see, the next real big wall is at $50, but past that, this starts to fizzle out. And we start to get this is where we turn into a bull. So right here, hitting 49 and crossing that 50 threshold, we're going to get bullish momentum. 59.79 is our next target. And this is where these computers start to auto hedge. As you can see right here, you've got just a little bit of share counts going on here, nothing crazy, but sitting right at $60. You have that big push of 1.5 million shares, and the only resistance is 8,000. So there's no resistance to this. Followed it up, you hit 73. This is where we get into the ape side. This is where this thing goes bananas. And this banana meter right here will just go bonkers. It'll go up, and up. And we'll be looking at a fat, like 5.5 going to 6. If we can catch that 73 level, there is nothing. There is no resistance stopping this thing. This thing just goes bananas because this auto hedging is just going to go crazy, especially because the auto hedging is typically done on Wednesdays. That way that they have time to cover the calls that fall in the money and the puts that fall in the money. And they do cover a little bit over, but they're not covering to the 145 mark. They're not covering to the 70 mark. We're looking from what my research indicates and all the data that I've compiled. So right now the market makers have covered roughly between 45 and 50 because of where our price action was yesterday. So basically up to our first big support wall right here, this big bull push, which is ultimately going to carry us right to 55. It's being that it's a Thursday, those would have to get auto hedged for really fast because in case they're exercised. As far as the call data goes, simply you have your total value. This is simply just the value of all the contracts added up on the call side and the value of all the puts added up on the put side. The put side is looking very, very, very good compared to the call side when it comes to the values. The The in the money on the put side is ridiculous right now. That's 50 million. That's the first time I've seen that big of a spread between the two. And then we go down to so what total if hedged at market price means. Okay, so hedged at market price means that they simply have to auto hedge at market price. Now I understand there's no place in the world that they're ever going to auto hedge for an entire options chain. I just like to show this number because it gives you a good visual of how much money is flowing through these options. On the out of the money, as you can see, the apes have lost that traction to keep that in the money up above the out of the money. The out of the money on the put side is still up, so they're having a similar situation as us. They have not quite taken over. The total contracts, we're still very bullish on that. I would almost say that it's in an apish category, although the 16th next week is very apish as far as contracts go. The in the monies, this is really slid. This is really the saddest number next to the average contract value. This is just simply how many contracts times 100 is what you get for your total shares. This is simply just how many shares fall in the money, and it's not a lot. The out of the monies it's a big gap between these two. If we could start covering some ground, we will inevitably start forcing the hand of the market makers, and we will start to trigger the gamma, which is the gamma leads to massive volatility. Massive volatility leads to our next ladder. I treat these guys as ladder steps. They're like ladder rungs in a ladder. We hit each step, and then it carries us to that next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, and it continues to go. On the call side, that's what I have for you guys. And then as far as, I want to show you guys one other thing. So another thing that I compiled data on is SIBO, live volume. This is all calls and puts. So this is the tick by tick. This is the tick by tick for the calls and puts. There is a lot of data that I do extract and input into Onyx. On the tick by tick side and on the call and tick by tick side, a 30-minute window is roughly about 40,000 pieces of data, individual pieces of data that gets processed. So this is by no means a small undertaking. This is a very large setup that I have going on here, which is ultimately why we are trying to autonomize Onyx and really bring Onyx to that next level and compete with Ortex, and ultimately surpass Ortex and Fintel, because Onyx doesn't just process a single data set. Onyx processes the tick by tick. It's where it shows our inconsistencies, and I'm going to show you guys that too real quick, because people have questioned how I find naked shorts, and it's really, really simple. You go to NASDAQ, you go to real time, you go down to view latest trades. It says real-time trades are not available yet because obviously the market hasn't opened. This is only good for 24 hours. So after the market closes, once that clock rolls over to midnight, these options are no longer, this real-time trade data is no longer available. And what Onyx does is Onyx extracts that out. That's simply what it does. So you can go through by yourself, click on a time interval, go through, extract all that data by hand, which is what I used to do. Now I have an algorithm, I have a Scrapian that does it for me. Pull that data out, add it all up, go over to your chart. You can go over to the NASDAQ chart, actually. Keep the market with the market, the third-party platforms, third-party. And then you can simply just check to ensure that what time interval you have is correct. And you go down to the 1 minute. You can check it on a 1 minute basis. You can check it on a 3 minute basis. You can check it on a 6 minute basis, so on and so forth. This is 1 month. I'll go down to 1 day. And then you have the 1 minute right here. So you can track this, and you can follow, and you can see the inconsistencies as they happen in real time. There's a lot of inconsistencies. It is not just me simply saying something just to get attention. I promise you, you do the work and you will find the same thing that we have found. If you guys have not followed the Average Ape, please do. His dark pool videos are insane. Me and him work together on this project of Onyx. He extracts the dark pool. I work on the public side of the market, and I also work towards the I'm going to be working on the institutional side of things, looking and digging deeper into these institutional holdings, cross-referencing them, and figuring out who is ultimately responsible for making this manipulation happen. And it's not just Citadel. Don't be pointing fingers solely at them. There's a lot more out there. Just looking at AMC real quick, one last thing is you have on the institutional side, okay, you have 306 institutional holders. If you think that for 1 second that only one of them is manipulating it, you are poorly mistaken. There is a lot of manipulation that has been going on with AMC, as everybody knows. It is up to us to be able to find it. So, and that is what we are working to, is finding the inconsistencies inside the data. Big shout out to Vanguard and BlackRock. You guys are our rock, no pun intended. You guys have really batted for the apes and really helped us out a lot. Invesco as well. They just made a huge contribution to the ape community to the tune of 5,041%, getting big in the game. So those three people those three groups. Just want to give you guys a shout out as well. I'd also like to give a shout out to Tara Bull. Thank you so much for everything that you do for the apes and all of the help that you have given me. I don't think I would be here today without your support and your help. So with that, guys, have a great day. Let's hope that AMC reverses and we can go green. Like I said, though, all my data I do not try to sugarcoat things. I just tell you the way that the data talks. Until tomorrow, guys, have an awesome day, and thanks for your support.